Hello folks, this is Jan Montarsi here from Gembox Designs. Today I want to introduce and overview my new tool, the Create template. What the Create template allows you to do is make all different kinds of quilt items. These are 3D rhombus patterns that I've made with the template. You can also do all kinds of diamond, triangles, and square patterns. These are scrap stripy quilt patterns. This is with the 1/4" strip, and this is a 1/2" strip. I designed this template to be made for jewelry size. You can also make 6, 5, and 8-point quilt stars. I'm sure you can do 12, but I'm working on the math on that. It also allows you to do what I call bake and break mosaic tiles. If you take a sheet of clay and do your cuts on a tile and then bake it, these are 1/4". Then you can break apart little tiny, this is triangles, little tiny triangle mosaic tiles. I also have it here in squares. You can see the different squares in the bag there, I hope. But if you do mosaics, it's a fun little tool for that. You can also do diamond shapes, but I think most would be mosaics would be triangles and squares. You can also use your template for color mixing. I've cut out 1" squares, and when you use the grid, conveniently, it leaves little marks on the 1" square that are broken into a pattern of 16 little squares. So you can use this to mark and make your color recipes. I suppose a full square of this, a 1/2 square of white, and a square and 3/16 of turquoise made this beautiful lavender color. Like I said, the main focus of my demo here today is to show you the basics, use, and care of your template. This is the template. It has slotted lines that you cut through. The template comes with 2 of these micro thin blades. These are the only blades that will fit this template. X-Acto knives are too large, and even your thinnest polymer clay blades are probably too large. The reason I wanted such tight lines, it gives you more precise cutting strips and squares when you're designing your pieces. First thing you want to do is notice there are several marks on this. First of all, there's my logo. When you're using the template, make sure the logo is face up. Also, there's a 120-degree angle on this side and a 90-degree angle on this side, and then a perpendicular line for lining up your sheets of clay when you're creating. All these lines are used in different ways, and in future videos I'll show you how I do that. When you first get your template, the first thing you need to do is take your blade and insert it in a slot, and do this with every slot, and just run the blade forward and backward to make sure there's no chaff left in the slot from manufacturing. Just a quick little zip. The other reason I like using this, when you work, I work on a 4" tile. I'm going to take this paper out of here. The reason I like to work on a 4" tile, it gives me something to grab a hold of on the edges. Actually, this is a 6-inch tile. It gives me area to grab off the edges when I'm lifting the template. Because your clay is sticking to your tile, and the clay will stick to the template, so it really stabilizes your strips and squares when you're cutting. The other thing to do when it's stuck to that, after you've made your cuts, don't lift from one side, and I'll show you this later. Go around to the corners and loosen it up and then lift it off. Like I said, it has 2 blades. I do have extra blades available on my site. Another thing about the template is this is laser cut. So when they do the cutting and you're using it from the top side, it's easier to get the blade in. It's a tighter fit from the back side. Over time it will loosen up and it won't matter. But also the very ends of the slots are tight, and it's just a process of the manufacturing. So your usable area is about a quarter to a ½ inch in from the ends. Like I said before, this was designed to be for jewelry size pieces. When you're making your sheets of clay, plan for excess around the template. You will be cutting some off. And also, when you roll your clay for conditioning, I like setting the 3rd or actually the 4th or 5th setting on my pasta machine. But when you condition your sheets, you make sure you put it on your template, on your tile, with as minimal air bubbles underneath as possible. And also, sometimes when you condition a sheet, you'll have an edge where the clay is really 2 thicknesses from where the fold is. I hope you can see that. Avoid those areas. I leave them on there because you're going to have waste around the edges to cut away anyway. Just be careful when you're putting your pieces together not to use those pieces. A little bit more on releasing the template. I try to use slightly leached or firm clay to work with. It keeps your patterns more crisp and your strips and squares and triangles in shape better as you're working with them. If you decide your clay is too sticky, what you can do, and don't cover your whole sheet, but just put a few strips of cornstarch across a small area. It'll help release the template. But you need the template to stick for preciseness. Use good light when you're working with your template. It helps you see the lines and placing your blade. Also, when you're placing your blade, don't come in from an angle like this. Go perpendicular to the slot and put it in the slot. Oops, am I upside down? I sure am. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you here with actual slicing, put your blade in the slot and they go in. It goes in fairly easy. I'm going to make some 1/4 inch slices. Like I said, avoid the very end. It is tighter at the very end. Okay, now, another thing with this blade, if you're using thicker sheets of clay, this blade only goes so deep through the template. If you're working on thicker clay and you need a deeper blade, then I suggest you use a pair of pliers for this. These blades pull out. When they pull out, they're very flimsy and very sharp. So keep them in their stabilizing housing. But if you pull your blade out just a little bit with a pair of pliers and let it hang past the end of the frame, you can get a much deeper cut. I'm going to push that back in. Actually, I'll just use another one. If you're slicing, occasionally when you're slicing, you just can't seem to get the blade in there, you can push one piece to the side and it'll open it up just enough to slide the blade in there. I'm going to take these excess pieces off here. I'll get to the cleaning. So this sheet here, I've cut strips across, and I've pulled off my excess. And I'm just going to quickly show you. I'm going to line this perpendicular middle line along the edge of my stripes. And I'm going to go and slice every one. Now, if you're doing a 1/2 inch, you're going to skip every other one. So what I do is I put my blade in, I mark my next slicing spot, make my slice, then my blade's there. Mark my next slicing spot, move my blade. Mark my next slicing spot, move my blade, and so on. So now what I have here, I have, let me get a card here. And I like working on white tile as opposed to glass. I use cardstock to lift my pieces off. And I slide underneath. You can use a blade. So now I have all these little squares to work with. They break up very easy. I have hot hands, so I use paper a lot of times to move my pieces around. These made rectangles because I went every other one. I got a blade here. There's some rectangles. Oh, I didn't cut that one. Anyway, this video is not about making something. It's actually about the template. One other important thing is cleaning your template and all your acrylic tools. You should never use alcohol of any percent, window cleaner, acetone, goof off, Goo Gone. None of those products should be used on acrylic. It does react with acrylic and will cause hazing and cracking. And it may happen today, it may happen weeks from now. I have plenty of tools before I learned that, made of acrylic that I clean with alcohol, and it ruined them over time. Cleaning this is very simple. I just use a dry paper towel and rub it real good. If you want to use soapy dish soap and water, warm, that you can do also, but this works good. A baby wipe would work. If you get clay stuck in between the slots, you can just flex them just a little bit as you're doing it. Don't over flex your template, either when you're cleaning it or when you're lifting it from the clay. Pull up nice and slowly around the edges and it will release. That's it for now. My next video is going to be on the thing that most people are interested in, which is making the scrap strippy quilt squares. That should be up in the next few days. If you want to go to my Facebook page is called Blend Angles, all one word. You can see some of my other tools that I have there. I have different sets of blend angled templates. These are for making Skinner blends. They're based on a 180 and a 150 pasta machine. There's also a mini set, which allows you to do many other things. Please look at my other videos. I also, if you have a Lucy slicer or a Simmons slicers, I make easy on, easy off blade safers. They really work nice, and it's much safer to put on than anything else I've seen as far as protecting your slicer machine blades and your fingers. And I do have videos on both of those products on YouTube. If you want to order any of my products, you just go to my Blend Angles page. You can go to the photo albums. There's one that says Blend Angles Store. That photo album has everything I sell individually with prices and shipping. and you can just message me and I will PayPal you an invoice. I need you to send me your email address for that. I'm very low tech. I'd rather make stuff than worry about computer stuff. Thank you all for coming today, and I hope to show you more stuff in the future. This is another thing, one thing I missed to show you. These are all the sizes of squares that I was able to cut with my template. They go from 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, on up to 4 inches. Actually 3 inches. 1, 2, 3 inches. Thank you very much. I hope you give the Create template a try. Thank you very much.